iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Greg Hectus,
Hey, everybody.
Mason Stiver,
What's up?
Tony Groves,
Evening, fellas.
and special guest Alex Green.
Hello.
Hey, welcome everybody. Well, thanks Alex Green for joining us today here on the podcast. Let's get to know you a little bit and go through our questions. Tell us about what brought you to iRacing in the first place and how did you initially hear about it?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be on this. I grew up in a racing family. My dad was a big NASCAR fan, and ever since I was a kid, I remember NR 2003 and crashing cars on that. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I got into NR 2003 and found out that you could still race on it, that there was still servers open. And I actually ran my own league with a couple buddies for a short time there, and everybody kept talking about iRacing, iRacing. And when I found out that the same people who from Papyrus had made iRacing, and decided to give it a shot, and that was going on 3 years ago now.
All right, well, very good. And so tell us about like how often are you racing now? Per week? Is it daily, once a week kind of thing?
I try to race as much as I can. My daughter was born 4 months ago, actually today. So I don't get to race as much as I do. Typically, I'll be running. I'll usually run Monday, and I try to race on Fridays. And every now and then, if I can get her to sleep in time, or I can get my wife to take her, I'll try to run the occasional C fixed race or something like that. But usually about 2 or 3 times a week, not as much as I used to.
Right, right. All right. And so what series are you running? Is it oval, road, dirt? Are you part of a team or any leagues?
I'm a roadblock when it comes to road course racing, so I typically try to avoid that. Series I'm more likely to run is the C Fix series for official, and I'm also the co-owner along with two of my best friends, Robert Payne and Cody Ober, of the OP Racing series. So Monday nights I'm always found in our Super Speedway series, which you can check out on Max Speed TV. And I also run our 2001 Throwback Series, which features the K&N cars with the original 2001 rule sets. That's the kind of stuff I love, kind of the throwback to the old school. In terms of teams, I'm a member of GOP Racing, or Green Overpain Racing, which is just three best friends from kindergarten. I got them into it, and that's what we love to run.
All right, very good. So tell us about this OP Racing. I know you got a big event coming up, the 24 Hours of Charlotte
Yes,
is
sir.
something.
Yes, sir. The Mission 22, 24 Hours of Charlotte. Um, it's the basic concept is we want to do something that iRacing has, or that to our knowledge has never been done before on iRacing, and that is a 24-hour oval race. Kind of the idea of it was every time, people kept asking me, hey, do you want to run the 24 Le Mans? Do you want to run the 24 at Daytona? And I'm always like, man, I'm terrible at road courses. I'll just wreck your car. But I always really, really wanted to endurance race. So we kind of came up with the idea of, hey, why don't we run a 24-hour oval race? And we've always kind of wanted to do it for charity. We figured something like that would be an awesome way to raise attention. So we started that, and of course, throw the idea around. Everybody's like, "That's so dumb," and then it kind of went to, "Yeah, but it's dumb enough to work." So through some mutual contacts in the league, we became partnered with Mission 22, which is a charity for veterans of the military, the armed forces. Kind of they help them reintegrate into the public, raise attention to post-traumatic stress disorder and from get help for that their kind of conditions there. But their main goal is to reduce veteran suicide. Um, 22 a day is how many veterans commit suicide, and their goal is ultimately to bring that number down to zero. Um, Robert Payne, one of my best friends, he ran in the army and he kind of came up with the idea, through some of his own experiences, with people he knew and things like that. And we're like, that'd be an awesome one to do it for. And thus the 24 at Charlotte was born.
Okay, so initially I was thinking Roval, but you're saying it's oval, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
The
wow, that
Charlotte
sounds
Oval
awesome.
and the Monster Energy Cup Gen 6 cars.
Right, and then so it'll be team event where you're switching out drivers in the same car?
Yes, sir. We originally had set a limit of teams of 4. I believe we're still ironing out the details, which obviously we're 30 days from the race, so I'll have an official rule set out soon. But I believe we're going to teams of 6 as the maximum. Open setup. Basically, it's going to be like your typical NASCAR oval race, what you're used to, lucky dogs, cautions, all that, but 24-hour time limit.
All right. It'll be interesting to see how many laps people go down and stuff and who's on the lead lap and all that. I was thinking that as you were talking about that. So February 16th, the Cup car at Charlotte Oval, one fast repair per driver, cautions on. And so how do people find out more information about OP racing?
Well, OP Racing, typically, I believe, forgive me, I should have the stuff and I'll see if I can get it to you. But we have our Facebook group, which we're using to coordinate the event and where drivers can ask questions and things like that. We don't have a website currently. We're working on that still. But basically, you can reach out to me. I'm in iRacing Drivers World where I know this gets posted. Feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Entry fee is $10 per team. However, we do currently have some members of OP Racing offering to buy teams. They're charter in so long as they give the guarantee to run. And any team with a military member on it, they run free, no charge to them.
All right, nice. And proceeds obviously go to Mission 22.
All proceeds go to Mission 22. The entry fee is a $10 donation to Mission 22. It's not payable to me. Only we're hoping we do have a prize that got put up by some very generous people. 2 iFlags. Seem pretty cool little devices. They basically you plug them in and they'll flash the light status, things
Yellow,
like that, custom
green.
made. Yep, they seem really cool, custom made, engraved, and teams can decide how to divide that up. We have had some people offer to broadcast. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I believe KR Stolfus and Roger Muth, 2 people that we work with in our broadcast, have said that they may be willing to donate some time, and we have also had another group I need to get with definitely say that they were willing to broadcast the whole 24 hours as well as run. So the community outreach has been amazing, and I definitely Mission 22 is going to be promoting the events and giving us shout outs. It's basically the point is to show military veterans they're not alone. And
So one
good.
split you're filling up, right?
Yeah, we set a cap at 30 cars. Obviously, if we get to that, we can talk about adding more in. Teams of 6, but I don't think we're gonna have enough interest to generate more than one split.
You never know.
That may be cool. I wouldn't be against it, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Well, I think everyone coming off the Daytona 24-hour race, we had a lot of fun doing that. This certainly sounds intriguing for an oval racer, to get out there and mix it up, and take turns. And I think our team would have fun doing this.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to have you guys there. It's OP Racing's a great group of guys, and we're all about just community, the sense of community, and letting show military veterans are not alone, especially in an iRacing community. If we can get new eyes on the sport with it, that'd be awesome.
Well, it's tough to organize for a 24-hour race. I mean, because it's not a regular event. Most events are under 2 hours, but this is a whole different animal. Like when we were planning for the Daytona 24, we started literally 6 months ago, building a schedule and a team, a roster, and all this. And yeah, I don't know if we can actually do it, but it certainly does sound fun. So yeah, you can search Facebook for OP Racing to find that.
Hey, question for Alex.
Yes, sir.
What time does the race start?
It'll start at February 16th at noon, and then it'll go to February 17th, which is a Saturday and Sunday. It'll end Sunday at noon the next day on the 17th.
Eastern
Time, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Makes you think about what do you do for the setup, because half of it during the day, half at night.
That's definitely the challenge of it too. My team, thankfully we have Mark Vega, who's an amazing setup maker. I think our plan right now is to try to keep the car as neutral as possible and make it to where tire pressure adjustments, tape, we can get it right for each of the 4 members of our team. I think that's the current strategy. If that works or not, we'll see.
Right. And I'm curious, do you know if is it going to add time for a driver change like it does on the road course stuff with teams?
We haven't got that far.
I think it does, but I don't know. I haven't tried it.
I'm sure it probably does, and thankfully that's part of the reason why we had cautions on, because it adds that element of strategy of do you pit under green for green flag conditions, or do somebody take a little bit extra longer stint and wait for that caution to try to get a driver change?
Yeah, I think cautions on is appropriate for an oval. So,
Oh yeah, most definitely.
yeah, sure sounds awesome. All right, very good. Let's keep going. Tell us about your setup at home. What type of wheel and pedals do you have? How many monitors? Third-party software?
I keep it pretty basic. My computer was built about 4 or 5 months ago. I got an AMD FX, I believe a 7300 and a 1080 in there, all liquid cooled. Wheel, very basic, just your typical G27 stock pedals. I do run a triple Moduzo. Apps I use, really, I keep that pretty simple too. I just use sim racing apps, which is one of my favorite tools ever. Does everything I need, counts me down, tells me where people are on the track. Just really basic.
All right. And then final question, what's your most memorable iRacing moment?
Oh man, there's been a lot of them, and I've been thankful to be a part of this community for so long, and I absolutely love every minute of it. Um, I have 2 that are kind of a tie. Both of them you can actually see on if you go back and look at Max Speed TV's archives, one from this current season of Super Speedway and one from last season. Last season, restarted at Daytona 07 with 2 to go. Had my teammate and my best friend Cody Ober pushing me. Leader went up for a block, and I just stayed in it, and I got him about halfway, forced him back down, and I got my first win in the league. That was really fun, and I went into the chase and did really well there. Second one from this season was probably getting my other friend Robert Payne, his first win on iRacing. Unfortunately, I couldn't really be fully a part of that. My car had gotten wrecked, but just the excitement from the team as a whole when we pushed him and got him that win. And there's a whole story behind it I can't really get into, but it meant a lot to him and it meant a lot to us, and it was just a really special moment between friends.
Yeah, I've actually been in a moment like that before where you're at Talladega where we were 3 of us working together to get one guy a win, and we did it. And it's fun to do that.
Oh yeah, there's especially with super speedway racing. It's co-opetition. I believe Daryl Waltrip's called it a couple times. You want to win, but when you can get linked up and help your buddies, it's so much more fun.
Right. All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. It's been fun learning about you and Mission 22 and the 24 hours of Charlotte Oval race. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys again for having me on. I know we've had some scheduling errors, but been glad to finally get on board.
All right. Well, cool. We're going to get into the topics, but first, let's talk about the OBRL, Old Bastards Racing League. We do sponsor their Monday night event, and they had a full field of 43 drivers at Chicagoland. Eddie Jones captured the pole by a tenth over David Wright. Josh Mayhew gained 33 positions, winning the Hard Charger Award and finishing third. Greg Hectus walked the field by over 2.6 seconds and leading 42 laps to win the race. Gail Brooks finished second, and 29 drivers finished this exciting race on the lead lap. So let's stop there before I continue. Greg, you got it done, and I was watching you on the stream, and nobody had nothing for you.
Yeah, you got the track wrong there, but it was at Michigan. But
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, it was a good race. It was, I think, the only reason that it ended the way it did is just because someone didn't take tires on the second last pit stop or last pit stop, and their tires do mean a lot, especially the amount that guy had, and he
Dropped
kind of
like a rock.
yeah, and he kind of held them back. And as soon as I got away from the draft, then I was fine. It's whenever they had the draft, they could catch you no matter what. So uh, it was a good race. I think we all did pretty good. I think the only one that was Chris that had some issues in that race. But yeah, so now got my second win of the season, and I'm now the points lead with two races to go before the playoffs. So got to stay in the top 5 here. I got a 26-point lead.
All right, and then teammate Justin Laird started 26th, finishing 11th. Podcast professional Tony Groves had a great race, starting 31st and finishing on lead lap in 20th with 0 incident points. How'd that happen?
I didn't get wrecked, and I didn't wreck nobody. That's how that happened.
Nice. At Michigan.
At Michigan, yeah. You know, I kind of got to say a little different than what Greg. Yeah, it was a good race. It was an okay race. There was more cautions than I think there really needed to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Yeah, it seems to been happening a lot lately. The guys just seem to be a little over aggressive in my eyes. Daytona was surprisingly clean, but I'm not sure what's going on there. I know, like a bunch of us have paid into the pot, so there's some money on the line. Maybe that's what's doing it. There's a bunch of new guys. Maybe they're just not used to how the old bastards normally race, but I know they are doing their best to try and get things cleaned up and get everybody just racing hard and side by side. Now, that 20th that I did get, man, I fought for that. I fought hard, and I was fighting hard for 19th. I just couldn't get 20th. Is all the talent I had for Monday.
It is competitive. I ran with them Wednesday, and yeah, they had live admins going Wednesday to pull people out if something was going awry. But it was a much cleaner event.
Well, and I think they're learning from this year with the extra amount of people they have applying for it that they probably are going to need those live admins because they got 4 races a week and they got to hand out the penalties and make sure everything's right. And then there's somebody that does the replays. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's moving parts for them. And I think they were getting a little frustrated, and you could hear the frustration from the Monday night's race because Michigan shouldn't be a track that the cars weren't loose. They would get tight. So you don't really have to worry about it. It's just throttle management. And if you're getting up on somebody, just, drag the brake like you would at Daytona. It's you only had to brake a little bit to go around Michigan. So, you're almost driving like Daytona, but, guys just couldn't stay off each other. I think there was a big wreck I want to say at like lap 50 or so that took out a good chunk of the field.
Michigan is a track that you absolutely have to know how to run in traffic above all else. And you're right, there absolutely is that super speedway element. Coming from somebody who runs a league and currently deals with, there being too many cautions, have they considered setting up like a feeder series or maybe something like that that people have to race into? Because that's what helped us a lot.
Yeah.
It's a good.
And they got enough traffic to almost have multiple splits.
Yeah, they probably could now.
We set our main field at 30 cars on Monday nights, and then we do feeder series on Wednesday and Saturday. And we usually get about 20 to 25 cars, and those are people just trying to get up to the Monday series.
Right.
So I'm wondering.
A lot is being able to evaluate talent.
Now the other question is do you notice with having a race where they're trying to get up to the main one, is that race a little bit more aggressive than the main race?
Yeah, I'd say so, and we don't currently have a rule. We've talked about it, where the Monday drivers can't run with them, or have a limited amount of starts. So, we do currently have a little bit of a problem, I think, where the Monday guys are like, well, I'm not racing for points in this series, so just go out and send it. And that sometimes doesn't mix well with the other group. But you kind of get a sense really quick of, okay, I'd be comfortable with this guy pushing me around Daytona '07 versus I don't want this guy anywhere near me. And that's what the main thing we look for. And then the rest we kind of go from there in terms of talent and driver evaluation.
I don't want anyone pushing me around Daytona '07.
All right, and then podcast star Chris J.R. Scales had a tough race getting turned on the backstretch on lap 14 by driver 71. Next week, New Smyrna Speedway for 120 laps. They are going to have 2 live admins reviewing that race and handing out penalties for any racing incidents. The OBRL prides itself on clean racing with no cautions. And Wednesday night, I was the caution. I actually made a mistake and hit somebody and then spun out. But other than that, it was fairly clean after the beginning.
I don't think I even know what New Smyrna looks like.
Right. Well, let's keep moving here. We're going to the topics. Mason, you're up first.
All right, the Chili Bowl was this past weekend. We had Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, and many other NASCAR stars driving in it. But Christopher Bell had the iRacing paint job on his midget there. And we have some pictures on Facebook on the iRacing page of that midget and him sitting in there with the helmet, the iRacing helmet we talked about on, him with the iRacing management, iRacing banners everywhere, some track pictures. What else do we got here? Just a whole bunch of iRacing plastered all over that Chili Bowl. And then we also have the Instagram post of Christopher Bell, 3-time Chili Bowl champion. He did come away with the victory and put iRacing in victory lane. Also up on Twitter from iRacing.com. So lots of iRacing all over the Chili Bowl.
Wow. And how much exposure does iRacing get by being associated with this boy, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Larson? I mean, it's just amazing.
Well,
Chris Bell's going to have a full ride very soon.
Oh yeah.
And the only problem with Christopher Bell is he's being held back by Joe Gibbs, and that's what's causing some stop there. But the amount of just even having iRacing associated with this Chili Bowl too, like you got those 2 drivers, but just associated with Chili Bowl in general and being a winner of it, that's
right.
Recognition
alone
too.
And that's what I mean is that they're at the top of the Chili Bowl. They're the ones in victory lane, getting the TV shots on the iRacing product. I mean, all those other sponsors that are at the Chili Bowl, they're looking at iRacing with envy.
Yeah, absolutely. The main thing that helps grow the sport of sim racing is the real racing on top of it. I mean, especially, I remember I was in a race one time with Tony Stewart in it, and I was like, that's the coolest thing. And, he'll go out and publicly say that, it's as good as it gets.
Well, Chris is definitely an advocate. He does it weekly, and we've talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely need they need real drivers as much as they need them for money. So it's a really beneficial partnership, I think.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to iRacing for being involved and being the sponsor and writing the check to be there on the car because this is really good exposure. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. This is the kind of crowd that we want on iRacing. The people that watch Chili Ball are the people that we want in iRacing.
Definitely. I wonder how much it costs to sponsor one of those cars.
I don't know, but I bet you they got their money's worth, I would
I bet
think.
so.
All right, let's jump into the 24 Hours of Daytona iRacing version. I'll take this one. A lot of stuff going on. Of course, we ran two cars, the DP car and a GTE car. And we got some pictures that we put up on Facebook, but we didn't do a lot because we were just focused on the race and, and everyone's doing their shifts and that kind of thing. Um, but, and we're going to talk about our individual shifts a little bit later in the show. But I think we ended up sixth in the DP car, which was a good run. How did you guys finish over there in the GTE?
I believe it was a ninth place finish.
Ninth.
Yeah,
Okay,
ninth.
so two top tens. So are we happy with that? What do you think? I mean, let's talk of the overall result.
Well, if you're looking at it on our side, and you know, David and I are probably the more experienced road guys, and then having four rookies that never competed in an endurance race like that, a ninth place, we'll take that. That's a great finish. I don't know how Brent, Mason, Tony, and David,
Chris.
myself, and Chris. I mean, we we were battling hard. We even had we'll have to talk about it in a bit about the blinking issue, but um, that race had a whole bunch of things, and we were talking about it on the messenger for a while that Chris and them were a little worried about trying to do good for the team, and we were just trying to get them to focus to not make any mistakes and things like that. And I think Chris and Tony ended up with the least amount of incident points from most of us on the team. So for that race, so for not having any experience in doing it, and not even having the craft of wanting to be a road racer, they did a hell of a job in that race.
Yeah, ninth is very respectable out of 55 cars.
Wow.
So, yeah, six for our car. And I was six when I got in it with about 8 hours to go, and it stayed six till the end. So that six was earned, earlier on in the race. Joe got taken out by a GTE car that went completely off track on one part of the track and went across the grass and just sideswiped Joe and flipped the car over. And when I got in it, it was like it wasn't damaged at all. It was still fast, and but apparently it got wrecked twice before I got it.
And the other,
And
hold on, sorry, Mason. The other thing, just before I forget, I want to commend Bobby Jonas for the paint jobs on both cars as well. They looked great out there.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I was gonna say I think we were in a field of all GTE cars.
and
Yeah,
so that's ninth overall.
yeah, it was ninth overall because it was all 55 GTEs.
Yeah, we were some 17 laps down. Um, okay, so my next thing I want to say about my take, it was I don't know how if I did this on purpose or not, but my shift was when it was totally dark to sunrise, and then it was shining bright. So I got to experience driving during that entire transition of the sunrise, and it was amazing, guys. I felt like I wanted to put on my sunglasses, as the sun was coming up, because it was bright, and I was kind of wincing my eyes a little bit, and it felt real. It was definitely a different experience.
Yeah, I had
Go
both
ahead.
the sunset and the sunrise stints. So I was the lucky one, I guess, on our team. And the sunset, I liked that better because it was easier to drive with. But the sunrise, like you said, you needed some sunglasses because that was hard to hit your marks. And I thought the lights on the car could have stayed on just a little bit longer um, to help me out with that. But just mainly inside the car, not necessarily outside the car. But it was very, very cool watching the sunrise and all that. They really nailed it.
What transition do you call the start of the race when they were blinking? Is that a different type of transition?
Yeah, so let's talk about the blinking. So at the beginning of the race, everybody was blinking out. I understand lots of different splits. Maybe not the top split. I heard that one was actually okay.
Compared to how it'd been previous years, they better have, done their top servers and all the resources they could for that top split, because there was a lot of people upset last year.
Well, and we
On
we were ours was blinking for about 30 minutes, I think it was, Mason. Was that what it was? About 30 minutes?
Yeah,
And
it's
it
that.
finally evened out, but it kicked probably 10 or 15 cars, and I don't know if all those people. I never did look at the results to see if some of those people just left and never came back. Um, but I think what they started another race an hour later for people.
Well, so here's the timing. So Tyler posted an hour after the race started, roughly. Engineers are working to fix the problem as we speak. I would say stay in the race for now. And so not long after that, they figured out what the problem is, and they fixed it. It was a firewall setting, and because there was so much traffic, unusually high traffic, their firewall was actually blocking drivers thinking it was a DNS attack.
Huh.
So this is hopefully
A learning
a
experience.
learning experience for the next endurance one, which is what, Spa? I want to say Spa.
Well, maybe
Bathurst.
Oh, it's Bathurst.
yeah, the big one will be Le Mans. But yeah, I mean, iRacing blew it again, and I don't want to say it again every time, but it seems like that whenever there's a big event, there seems to be a server problem, and but it didn't take them too long to fix it. Now they did start another race, which is very unusual, about an hour after that, and allowed people that might have been affected to basically restart. I have no idea how many restarted in that other event.
I've never heard of iRacing doing that either. In the past, they've just been like, well, sorry.
Right. There was also a separate issue with the Finnish in Finland, a ISP over there. They were doing maintenance, and it booted a lot of the Finnish drivers, people from
Ooh.
that country.
That's unfortunate timing.
Yeah, it's awful timing. Isn't, what's his name? I remember
Hutu?
iRacing did a Hutu. Yeah, did he get booted?
Well, it did drop all the top split Finnish drivers, and there's a bunch of them in
Oh
top.
yeah. So I bet he probably was involved in that.
Right, but so you guys in the Ferrari, you didn't grid because of the blinking, so you saw it happening during warm up, and
Yeah, I think I qualified 16th, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna risk it because it wasn't even like a quick blink. Like they were long, like it's like a second they were blinking. So the car would be in one location and then it, show up in another one. So you could never really tell where they were. So I just didn't want to go into turn one there and just, write off a 24-hour race within one corner.
right. Well, once they got it resolved, then it stopped and everything was okay. I understand, right?
Yeah, we didn't have any issues all night. And the other thing is Chris was the only one who had a minor issue on his first stint, but Tony, who usually has nothing but server issues and getting disconnected, had zero problems in the
Right.
middle of the night.
How do you predict? Yeah, Chris had a disconnect of some kind.
So we were quite surprised because we always were trying, like we were talking about it before. We had to make sure that somebody was around in case Tony had his problem, because then somebody could jump in. But he perfectly went, and then we were scrambling when Chris's all of a sudden popped up.
All right. Um, and some other tidbits here about the race. The top split winners was Coanda Simsport. That's Mitchell DeJong, Matt Pietiela, their guest Sage Karam. We've talked about him a bunch recently. J.K. Rogers was also involved in that car, and so they won the top split. Were the overall winner. No surprise there, Mitchell DeJong. Josh Rogers is his name. The other thing is only one team got DQ'd with the 240 incident limit. And so that turned out to be way too high, probably.
That's a lot of off tracks.
There were 4,684 drivers participated in the race. So how many do we get for Daytona 500? Does anybody remember?
It was 7 or 8 splits.
Of 40?
No, it was more than that. There's more than that. It's usually
Yeah.
it's
It was like
usually
15 or something.
there's a lot of servers for that one, and I'm sure this year it'll be even bigger.
I'm going to do the math on my calculator.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Homestead. They had 7 or 8 splits
So
last
15
Homestead
times
race.
40 is 600.
No, they had over 1,000 people signed up,
Yeah, I
did they
think it was
not?
like, I want to say 1,200 or something.
Because the Indy 500 was over 1,000.
Right. And so what number did I just say for this race? 4,684.
Okay, but divided by the average, it's technically 1,000 teams then, right?
Cars, right?
So it's 1,000 entries.
Right. But it's still impressive. Could you say this is the most popular race on iRacing?
It'll be that and Le Mans, I would think, are the two popular ones.
We'll have to look at what Le Mans numbers are. I have no idea, but we'll look at that this year and
We
try to
should save
remember.
we should save that data and compare it to all these special events and see what it does.
I'm
This
sure
is a
somebody will
potentially
do
dumb
it.
question, but is the road side of things bigger than the oval side of things with iRacing?
I think overall, yes. You count world numbers and whatnot.
Yeah, it's true.
I think there's more participation in total in the oval, but in the road there is more. I don't know how to articulate this properly, but I would feel that there's more races going on with more people in it in the oval side during a span of a period over the amount. Probably road is more specific dates that people will show up for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably right.
I mean, this is a once a year event, and I would say, based on that number, 4,684, you could probably say this is the most popular event on iRacing.
And the reason it's probably got that many is they're the day night transition was probably their biggest draw.
Ah, yeah,
I
huge
agree.
draw. All right, so
Day night
something else.
transition's coolest things iRacing's ever done.
Oh yeah, I loved it in the car when I was actually running the car like Mason, and it was just coming up, and it was so gradual, that you didn't realize it at first, and all of a sudden, oh wow, it's getting lighter. All
You
right,
come
so
experience again at Charlotte.
yeah. So one of the GTE teams didn't field a driver higher than a low 3,000 I rating, yet somehow they made split number one. That's a pretty much abuse of the I rating system to get a 6,000 plus driver to register the team and then never race for whatever reason. So somebody documented that a team did that.
I mean,
Do you think iRacing's going to do anything about it?
No,
it's not illegal.
True.
that's how it's designed.
It's unethical, but
Hey, play by the rules you're set with.
yeah.
I mean, it could be innocent. Maybe the guy is part of the team. He did register, and then maybe his power supply died, and he didn't get to run any laps.
Can we, I'm not gonna. We were no better. I mean, I think both our sides did the same type of thing, but we at least
We're going
raced
the
in
other
it.
way.
We just raced in it, right?
We purposely, I think, yeah, I want to say we purposely had the lowest guy enter the room first.
Yeah, that's what they. Yeah, so we're basically the opposite of it, but trying to keep us in a lower split.
Right, we don't want to race the aliens. We want to race people we can race with.
So just so I understand, it does the split based on the first person to enter the room, not the average of the team.
That's right.
It does it at the average of the team if they're all registered as the. From what we were figuring out, if say all 6 of us registered and then the rate room started, it would have taken our average and done it. But if you just put one person in and then everybody afterwards, once the room's loaded up and ready to go, we all joined after that. That's when it takes that first person's I rating.
So it'll average if you go in before the warm-up.
Correct. That's what we were led to
Right.
believe.
So the trick is that nobody goes in except the one guy until after the race starts.
Thanks, Chris J. Scales.
I gave him the idea, actually. All right. Let's keep moving. Tony, tell us about Enzo Bonito.
Yeah, this is a really good story. They had Race of Champions in Mexico, and well, them and the McLaren Shadow Project both tweeted out a congratulations to Enzo Benito for beating Formula E and ex-F1 driver Lucas Degrassi. The car they competed in was a two-seater Buell 05. I don't know the car, but it's actually kind of looked like yeah. Never mind, it's not even coming to me anymore. Um, but this made some pretty good headlines. Ray Fala, he threw up some words about the whole deal, and I thought they were really good. He says, "For years, I've been arguing that the top sim racers are really good drivers and would kick ass given the proper training. Now we are seeing more and more get the chance to prove it. I couldn't be more proud of Enzo Benito. The future is bright iRacing."
Hell yeah. I mean, he got it done. He beat uh, Ryan Hunter Ray in a head-to-head battle. And then the other guy, the Lucas Degrassi, he beat him on a head-to-head too.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Whenever I saw that story pop up on Twitter, I was shocked for it to be like in my most popular views or whatever.
Yeah, Formula One was tweeting about it, and what they said, Formula One says, the lines between motorsport and F1 esports get blurrier by the day.
And this, a little bit more on the car. It was a 285 horsepower car, 4-cylinder. It looks like a small Miata with a spoiler and no windshield. That's the best way I can describe it. It says it was purpose built for the racetrack.
That's a pretty small, like tight, very technical type racetrack. It's almost like a really super fast go kart. The car kind of looks like.
The way that they do that race, it reminds me of what they used to do with I don't know if you guys are familiar with the X Games, what they used to do with the rallycross in there, and where they'd have to both. There's two different. Um, I guess it looks like there's two different courses, and they got to go around both of them, and then it takes the full lap time of each person, and whoever gets to the
Right.
line first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like a lucky fan gets to sit in the car with the drivers too.
I was wondering what that was.
It's either that or it's a co-driver that tells them what corners are. I'm not too much familiar with it.
It's a pretty small track. I'm sure you'd have it figured out pretty quick. Well, congratulations to Enzo Bonito. That is very impressive to be invited as a sim driver and actually beat these guys. Very impressive. All right, Greg, you got a GTE Endurance Pro qualifying series update.
So I'm glad that you guys gave me this one because David and I were out because we are part of this qualifier and we do this every other Sunday when it comes up. But we were talking about doing it on the Sunday of the Daytona 24 hours, but I was like, no, I'm not going to have another race after we do the 24-hour race. So there was a post from Tyler Hudson said that due to recent activities surrounding the GT Endurance Pro qualifying series, we discussed internally and all agreed to add one drop week to the series. The overall standings will take your best points for 5 weeks out of the 6 of the season. So, you know, it's a good thing that they're doing that because obviously a lot of people missed this week, the way that they put the schedule, they missed the race of the week that the 24 hours was on. So, you know, that'll be probably considered the drop week now for a lot of guys. It's our drop week. But there's an argument being said in here that all the drop week does is increase the more aggressive drivers driving from the people that have the opportunity to drop points. Someone also made the argument you have 3 races in a weekend to score points. If you crash out of all 3, maybe you shouldn't be racing in the actual series.
Well, I
So
mean, I think the bigger argument is the timing of the announcement of the
yeah,
drop
and I
week.
think that's it seems like what they should have done with that series is they should have, knowing that maybe it's just an oversight by them looking at the actual 24 hours, but knowing the 24 hours was coming up, maybe they should have staggered that the weekends differently when they started the series, so that it
Right.
wasn't, on dropping on a
That's what
weekend of
happened.
that.
They didn't realize that 24 hours is the same day as this, same time as this thing.
Yeah, so I have that tamper monkey, I think is what we called it, or whatever thing that shows participation up for the series homepage for that series. And the first race it was averaging about 160 cars in the race. Then second race was again 160 ish. But that one after Daytona was cut in half.
Which is not a
Well,
surprise.
yeah, Fraser Williamson says on the forums, too late. Teams already called off an attempt at the GTE Pro in favor of the Daytona 24 hour, and now you're telling us there's a drop week. That's rather annoying. So they have teams that, are road teams, and they're looking at the schedule and they're like, okay, what are we going to run? Oh, if we run this Road to Pro, uh, Endurance Pro thing, we can't run the 24-hour because there's no drop weeks. And so they decide, okay, the 24-hour is more important to us, so we're not going to run the Pro. And now 3, 4 weeks in, then they realize, oh, there's a drop week.
I don't want to be too critical here, but it just seems to me that I don't know if it's a growing pain that iRacing's going through, but there seems to be a lot of backtracking after the fact. I think there's some series that are growing faster than they can come up with rules and things to, um, to be satisfy the people. I mean, you're not going to satisfy everybody, but there just seems some stuff that's being missed right now because there's so many series being added and thrown together quickly at last minute that they've just had some oversights that have, that they're trying to have to.
Sanctioning body problem.
Yeah, and and I feel bad for Tyler because he's the one that's, facing the brunt and having to answer a lot of the, feedback from people and take their criticism on it. And I mean, that's what his job is. So, but, there's some growing pains that they're going through right now. And I think, we as a community need to be patient with it, but there's also some things that they just gotta, maybe there just needs to be either have some more people look into it or, reach out to the community a little bit more and listen to what they're saying.
Well, and they're saying if you can change this rule to add a drop week in the middle of the season, why can't you change the rule to uh, not allow people to switch cars in mid-season?
Well, and that's a huge thing because switching cars mid-season or any track, you get the better car for the right track situations, right? Because there is a difference in those GTE cars.
Right.
Yeah, torque curves and stuff like that. All right, let's keep moving. Mason, sim racing apps update.
Yeah, so a lot of us use sim racing apps for our telemetry, fuel mileage, and whatnot. So they put out an update for server version 1.8. If you go to sim racing apps on the Facebooks, there's links in there to download it. Some of the changes, the highlights. iRacing changed some of the telemetry names, and they added the content from the December 2018 build, which would be the Roval, Tsukuba Circuit, Chili Bowl, the Dallara F3, and the Formula Renault 3.5. Now they have telemetry for those. They updated the Electron to 4.0.0, and it could solve some of the problems that it has been causing. Not sure what that means because I'm not a computer genius, but I'm sure it's important. And it's now displaying the sim time. This is important for the day of the race in all widgets that were displaying the current time before. So you will get accurate sim time for that. And there are also some new widgets like an HYS bar and in-car adjustments.
Now, the HYS bar is the hybrid stuff, right? I'm just trying to remember the acronym for it. I think it's the hybrid now that you can actually see when you're in for the, when it's diminishing the energy.
Yes, I do believe that is correct.
So that's a very that's a really good one to have now for that for those cars that have it.
Yeah, it says for battery charge percentage and deployment.
That's really crucial to have now for that. This would have been good to have some of this stuff for the 24 hours, especially the time and stuff like that.
And also, it fixed issues with the track map at the Circuit of the Americas. The finish line was in the wrong place at Grand Prix West, and pit row was not mapped correctly at Grand Prix East, so they fixed those.
Yeah, it's a great app, man. I'm using it whenever I'm racing. Great eye candy stuff.
I'm amazed more people don't know about sim racing apps. I literally can't race without it. If anything, just to count me down to my pit stall.
Yeah, that's when I first started using it, was just for that. But since then, I've been going through it and adding new stuff and trying everything.
Well, like I don't know if you were on there, Mason, when Brent or David was trying to get me to add an standings thing on my stream while I wasn't in the car, and he's like, "Just go down and do it." And I quickly went into the Sim app and dragged a standings thing into my stream and had it up while I wasn't in the car. You know, it's real easy to do.
I was watching that conversation and laughing, but I appreciated the standing.
All right, nice. Tony, electric cars and iRacing?
Yeah, there was a small discussion, 5 pages worth, about just that, electric cars and iRacing. This fella, I'm gonna butcher, maybe Juan Luis Alfaro, just posted up questions saying, hey, sooner or later, we're gonna start seeing, the electric car is gonna get more and more popular with racing, and it's they're gonna bring it into iRacing, and how is that gonna work, and is it gonna be popular and all that stuff. And somebody put up a pretty funny little answer saying, all cars in iRacing are powered electrically already, and well, hands down to that guy. He pointed out the obvious. But staff member Eric Hudik, he posted up. He says, it's the future. Get used to it. Not a big game changer for them, as they say all their engines are modeled as motors already. I know it's an up and down kind of conversation. Some guys hate it, some guys love it. The torque and acceleration are like instantaneous, so the power delivery is would be awesome. But does this thing kind of excite you guys or not?
Do you get that though, right? How he wrote that? All our engines are modeled as motors already. That's, electric is a motor, not an engine.
Yeah, all they have to do is change the torque curve or whatever, right?
The thing is I think this is becoming an issue, or not an issue, a topic now because of Formula E has caught on huge in Europe. Like Formula E
Yeah.
is big over there. The only thing I can see is when electric cars would, like in iRacing, would become more uh, relevant would be when they stop racing on the street circuits that are temporary circuits, when they start taking them to, a Silverstone or an Indy or things like that, where they're not on a really hard thing to, like, we've already seen how long it's taken them to do Detroit, as a temporary circuit. Well, it is a temporary circuit. And then was it Long Beach? That one's never really fully released ever, right? So
Never finished, yeah.
yeah, so I think the day that they start racing in a more, a set racetrack, I think that could become a possibility for iRacing, but I don't think, because you don't want to race these e-cars if they're not on the tracks that that they race on, right?
Yeah, they're mostly street races, I believe. And I mean, if they built a Formula E car, I think it'd be fun. I would probably buy it and try it because it'd be interesting to see how the engine works, as far as acceleration and torque. And
I think Forza 7, I think it's Forza 7, has Oh, and I think Project Cars as well. I think they have e-cars in it, and it's a totally different way of driving because you don't have the sound. You have the tires squeal, but you don't have the sound.
So, when you go to one of these events, you go to like a Formula E event, are you required to put your phone on silent so, if you happen to get a phone call, you don't distract the drivers?
It's not an
Nice.
airplane, it's a car.
It sure makes a hum.
It's more of like that whine, like when you it's actually like the what are those cars, those electric cars that go around the track, the sound that they kind of make, um, that you played with as a kid.
Well, it's obviously a future revenue stream for iRacing to be able to do the Formula E series and put that in iRacing. I mean, we don't have it. If they added it, that would drive revenue, and I could see them doing it in the future. When they run out of other stuff to scan and put out.
They really need to figure out how to do street circuits. Like there's some street circuits that they need to add to the iRacing already. So they just need to figure out how to get more of them in here.
All right, let's keep moving. Mason, Clint Boyer, and Zach Leonardi.
Yeah, so if you don't remember, Zach Leonhardi is our World of Outlaws late model champion for Armor iRacing, and he is actually a real life late model driver as well. But there's a YouTube video up on iRacing's YouTube page of Clint Boyer meeting Zach Leonhardi at the Charlotte at the dirt track at Charlotte, and they talk a little bit before they get in the car together. Clint Boyer has a two-seater with two steering wheels, and so that Zach kind of turn the steering wheel and do the same kind of motions that Clint was doing, and then Clint lets him take a spin in his late model around Charlotte. So Clint Boyer is lauding iRacing a lot and saying how realistic not only the dirt is, but also the road and oval sides. And just listening to him talk is fun in general. So it was a very, very well done video.
Pretty cool to see that's part of his prize for winning those races was to be able to have this test with Clint, on the dirt.
If anybody you want to go hang out with in NASCAR for a day, it's probably Clint Boyer is one of the ones on the top of the list because the way his personality is, especially in the dirt side for him too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I guess it's no surprise that Zach is a real late model driver too, and he's obviously bringing real racing experience into this.
I just can't get over the fact that where I was, 9 years, 10 years ago when I started seeing, people just racing, and then you get these guys now get to go and do these opportunities, have opportunities of a lifetime to get in cars that they would never have gotten a chance to probably, or any exposure to if they, didn't race on here.
Right. Pretty cool package for winning that championship. All right, let's keep moving. Greg, season 2 schedule input.
Okay, so this will be a quick one we go through here, but Tyler Hudson was asking for help again on figuring out what season 2 schedule should be, and
He spammed the forums. This is just 3 of the maybe 30 posts that he put up.
yeah. So everything that they are, every series that they've got, they want your input in to see what the schedule should be for season 2. I don't know how many weeks are we away from that. Not that long, are we?
No.
But geez, if we're not already that long from season 2, that means a build's coming soon too.
It says by February 20th is when he needs it.
Okay, so we got like a month to go here on this, but this is how you guys can get get the races in an order, the races that you want over a 12-week period. If you put your input on it, this is how you guys can race the tracks you want to race for 12 weeks here. If you're really into those, if you're into those series all the time, you might as well put down your opinions on it.
So here's how you do it. You go in the forums and you get on the car forum of the car that you're wanting to run. And in there, you will work with the people in those forums to come up with a common ground for a season 2 track schedule. And then as a group, one of you will email it to Tyler Hudson, and that's it. Now, Tyler does the oval, But on the road side, it's another guy. It's
Alex Horn.
Alexander Horn. Right. Yeah, alex.horn at iRacing.com. But he doesn't want an email from everybody. He wants the community to work together in the forums to get a consensus and send them one schedule. And they even give you a nice Excel template to type the schedule into to submit.
And Tyler's is tyler.hudson@racing.com as well.
All right, let's keep moving. The NASCAR iRacing Series Pro Series concluded. Wraps up this week. The top 20 in points have now become peak drivers. And this is a big story. We got new peak drivers. They all have a pro license now. Last time I looked at this, they were not pros. Now they are. Congratulations to Blake Reynolds, who won the championship. Okay, so that's something just to win that. But I'm going to read off the names of the people that have moved on and see if you guys recognize any of these names you probably have run with in the past. Blake Reynolds, Cody Bias, Ashton Crowder, Nathan Lyon, Garrett Lowe. That's your top 5. I'm going down in order. Corey Vincent, Jarl Tien, Michael Garalio, Kane Cook, Benjamin Nelson, Eric J. Smith, Chris Overland, Dylan Duvall, Malik Ray, Brandon Hayes Catelli, Adam Benefiel, Logan Kress, Jake Nichols, Casey Tucker, and 20th Timmy Hill, the NASCAR Cup driver Timmy Hill. Got 20th.
Yeah, squeaked in by 1 point, it looked like.
Yep.
Over 2 drivers.
Yeah, and so with Homestead for the final event, apparently, yeah, he snuck in. Dylan C. Jones missed out just by a little bit, finished 21st. Pretty tough pill to swallow there, I bet. Congrats to our friend John Hammer, friend of the podcast. He is involved with Gen X working on setups for Logan Kress, and Logan Kress did finish 17th. And he's now going to be in peak. So congrats to Hammer. He's back in peak. He was in peak several years ago with a different team and driver, and now he's back. And he's going to be supporting Logan Kress as they go into peak. So congrats to John. Ray Alfalo, his team had a big showing as well. Even though Ray is already a peak driver, he has several people on his team that made it into peak. Including 3 of them, Chris Overland, Brandon Catelli, and Jake Nichols.
So Chris Overland used to be in it all the time, so he must have had to, this time he had to qualify to get back into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that works. And there's a Twitter status about Chris Overland gets a sim seat as a gift from Ray Alfala.
Huh. That's interesting.
And, well, he's got to have something to race in. Apparently, he doesn't have a nice seat. So they got him a sim seat rig for the Peak iRacing Series. So
Apparently, he was doing fine enough without it.
yeah. Now, remember, the draft is coming up at the end of the month for these guys. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. All right, the next part of this is it's kind of in a related story. We got some Twitter posts from G2 Esports, and they're one of the teams that's going to be involved in that draft. And they said, we're excited to be part of the official NASCAR series. We're ready to meet everybody on the track. And so I went over there and gave them a follow on Twitter, and they say they're the world premier esports club, and they do have a Discord, and they have a website, g2esports.com.
Huh.
But pretty cool how these traditional race teams are getting involved, but also these eSIM teams that are involved in stuff, apparently over in Europe, that I'm not really aware of.
I can't say I'm really familiar with any of it.
funny
Right.
thing is the esports stuff is really gaining momentum now, and it's something if it's got to be something crazy now that if something that's an esports league or thing has noticed iRacing because of they're saying in here because they've seen they see the money being put up and things like that just have brought from established organizations, which is really good to see. Like it's the exposure is starting to get out there.
All right, let's keep moving. I got this one. Offline session launcher. So a driver named Philippe, I'm just going to use his first name, created a executable software download thing that you can install and run that would give you an offline session with fixed weather, which is really important to have fixed weather when you're doing testing and setup changes and that kind of thing. And so, he posted it up in the forums, he's sharing it with everybody. A lot of people are excited about it because right now there's no way to test with fixed weather. And so you don't know when you're, making setup changes. Oh, was that the spring I changed or was it the cloud that came over? And so it's made that more difficult. And so this tool would give them back the option of that fixed weather that they currently don't have in iRacing. And not long after it was posted up about it, Tony Gardner did go onto the post and basically said in the most polite way that you could say, please cease and desist. Is the way I'm going to paraphrase it. He said it much nicer than that, but and he basically said this isn't allowed, kind of thing. Now, what's happened since then is that post has been removed. It completely deleted. I don't know if it went off the rails after he said that. Um, and so then another post got started by somebody saying, "Oh, why did that post get deleted?" Blah blah blah. You know. And so we did get a reply from Tony Gardner again about this. I'm going to read part of this, his response here. Because I think it gives us some insight into how third-party apps are allowed or not allowed, and how that interaction with iRacing can be good or bad. Okay, so I'm going to read this. It says, "I know Philippe is just trying to help the community, which is great, but it was very nice of him to do this. We apologize that when we rolled out the time of day feature in the last build, that you lost the ability to have set weather in testing. We know some people want it. We are adding the functionality back to have set weather in testing and hosted. It is in the works. However, no one should be accessing our internal protocols in iRacing without permission. I also would be pretty careful about sending your login information to a third party." He went on to say, "I just wish he asked first. I don't think that the approval process is worth it now at this point, since we're planning on putting it back out the same functionality." And so they had a problem because he didn't ask for permission in this scenario to do this. And so they pulled his forum post and whatnot. But what do you guys think about this with third party apps? Yay, nay?
I mean, ultimately, in the end, it's iRacing's duty to protect their source code. I understand why they were getting a little defensive about that. It's one thing to have something like sim racing apps, which has its own API to plug into it, but it's another thing to have something that's basically one step short of cracking. And then they have people who just access the software for free, and then that's dangerous when AI come, because basically it's going to increase that. It's going to increase people not wanting to get membership because they can just play a single player AI experience. It's just a slippery slope to go down.
Yeah, I mean, they have a nice API. A lot of third party apps do a lot of great things that the sim doesn't do. And so I wouldn't want that to go away. And so we got to be careful about that. And and I'll kind of paraphrase, but part of what he was saying was, those third party apps in lots of cases they come to iRacing and ask for permission. And in some cases when they do, iRacing shuts it down and nobody even knows about those. And so it just really depends on what it's for and that kind of thing. In this particular scenario, they're planning on bringing it out here shortly, and so they're not going to allow this guy to basically do what he was planning.
I'd be very curious, just from a nerd standpoint, to see how it was going to interact with the login servers. Because, I mean, it's not. I guess if it's sent. I'm curious to see how it would have handled sending the credentials over and then verifying it.
Yeah, the
Or if that would
programmer
have been an
did.
exploit.
Yeah, there was a reply from him that said that the credentials were always just kept locally.
Oh, that's probably the big thing I had an issue with.
But regardless, he didn't ask permission, so yeah, if you're going to do that, yeah, you should talk to iRacing about what you're doing, and because apparently what he's doing is just simple web calls, HTML stuff that's available. The iRacing that the stuff is there to do it. iRacing just hasn't taken the time to make it, where you can actually click it and do it.
Maybe they should hire him.
Right. If you
I've
should send
actually
his
worked
resume.
with. I've worked with iRacing a lot, and they always have been very straightforward to work with. I mean, they especially with the Mission 22 race coming up, I actually have a call from them. I've been going back and forth. We're trying to set a time for me to call and explain the race, and they may be promoting that. They're very willing to work with them if you're willing to work with them.
Right. Well, let's keep moving. Mason, hostesses with the mostesses.
Yeah, we Brent McCoy and I hopped in a race here that was hosted by NASCAR drivers Harrison Burton, Ashton Crowder, Blake Cook, Matt Tiff, Christian Eckes, and there was one more that I can't remember the name of. Regardless, we got our picture tweeted up on Harrison Burton's Twitter of the iRacers Lounge truck leading the pack. And it was a blast. They were doing some drafting practice at Daytona at night, and it was just a practice session, but we had some pit parties where we were running together, and it was fun seeing how they handled the trucks in sim. And then we also have the current NASCAR champion, Joey Logano, and spotter TJ Majors up there doing the iRacing as well. They were running a hosted race, I believe, with the Team Marble iRacing. And it looks like TJ Majors finished, where was it here?
Yeah, Jeff Marble is a listener, and I picked this up off his Facebook feed. He put up a video of he was running with Joey Logano and TJ Majors.
Didn't TJ Majors get a start? Like, didn't Dale find him back in NR 2003 from sim racing?
Yep, that's how he got hooked up with Dale Jr. Yep.
It looks like our teammate Tyler Conroy might have been in that race.
All right. Well, it's pretty cool to see the current champ, Joey Logano, on iRacing in the off season. That is cool. I mean, that is so cool. All right.
I'm curious if he talked to fans or anything like that from the race, if he had his mic on.
Yeah, amen to that.
I didn't take time to watch the video, but there is a video at Team Marble iRacing on Facebook. It's called Cup Race at Michigan, so go check it out. Our buddy Jeff Marble over there.
By the way, he has one of the best he has an interesting pit crew uniforms. They're American flags.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Blake Cook and Harrison Burton and all them did talk to the fans, so that was awesome.
That's cool.
All right, Tony, we got a poll. Is it time to upgrade?
Yeah. Jeremy Dorian put up a poll. He was asking for some help. He's looking to upgrade in a year. He currently has a 1080 Ti, and he was just wondering if it would be worth his while to upgrade to a 2070 card. And
No.
well, that overwhelmingly, that's what the poll says. There was actually quite a bit of hits on this one. Almost 100 people piped in, and 95% of them said stick with your 1080
Ti.
The 1080 Ti to me is still the best card in the market. The 2080, the 2070, all those, I know for a fact they're still having some major driver issues. heating, driver. They blue screen very frequently. I mean, I have a 1080, not even the Ti, and I don't plan on upgrading for the next 3 or 4 years.
Right. Yep. Pretty easy poll. 95%. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The 1080 Ti is what I bought, and I'm happy with it. I don't think it's an upgrade to go to a 2070 or even the 2070 Ti. It's not worth it.
iRacing doesn't even take use of the features
Ray
implemented in the
tracing, I think they
2070.
call it.
Yeah, it doesn't. If the stuff you use isn't supported by if your card isn't supported by the stuff that they're using, not a point. I worded
Yeah.
that awfully, but
Well, maybe in the future, once they got the bugs worked out of the card for the overheating issues, and then, once more programs kind of jump on the new way of doing things with the ray tracing, the 20 series may be a little bit, um, maybe a better choice, but we're obviously not there right now.
All right. All right.
Yeah, next up, the title of this one is just absolutely awesome. Mason, nice job. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So it seems that there was some practice sessions put up for the F3 at Interlagos, and it was pitch black. That would make it extremely hard to run. Some guys were still sticking it out and trying it out.
No headlights there.
Well, yeah, no headlights, no track lights, obviously. But it seems like it's the end of the practice sessions that were in complete darkness. Um, Alexander Horn got back to everybody in the post to say that during the race isn't long enough to hit the dark for darkness to come, so that won't be an issue. But if you're in at the near the end of the practice sessions, you're kind of effed. There's not much they can do about that.
get some flashlights and duct tape. You'll be fine.
That's what I was just gonna say. So do you think they fixed this problem, or they just add in a point where you can go into the pits and grab a flashlight?
I don't think they're going to do anything because they want the practice and the race to start at the same time of day. The practice runs way longer than the race. They're not going to do anything on this.
No, it's just unfortunate how it happens at certain tracks.
Well, hey, on the flip side, I mean, see how you can do running in pitch black. It could be interesting for a lap or two.
Do you think you can
Weird.
get a lap done? Is that the new? So when it goes into the darkness, that's the new Bird Box challenge.
There it is. There it is.
We had a race in the Super Speedway series about 2 weeks ago where I messed up, and it was at Talladega, and I put it on 2X and thought, it'll be dust, but we should be able to do it. We get to like lap 70, and then we're running in pitch black on a Super Speedway. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life.
But fun, right?
Yeah, it was fun until we had to postpone it because nobody could see. Like, some of us could still see, and there's actually the way the day-night cycle works is there's a certain point on the track where it'll refresh how it should be. And Talladega, it's between 3 and 4, so it went from us being able to see, a little bit just fine, not that bad, to pitch black going through the dogleg. So yeah, we had to stop that one.
Sounds like a good one for the Team Tifosi and the iRacers Lounge to do an experiment like that.
Yeah, when the day-night thing first came out, I was running Talladega at night, and it was fun. But we had the Cadillacs, we had headlights.
Those Cadillacs are fun to draft in.
Yeah, it was a big old draft pack at night. It's a blast. All right, let's keep moving. Greg, I want to title this one Pitchforks and Torches.
Now, Mike, I'll get you to help me with this one just because I was trying to figure out what they're talking about in the league part here. But first, there's a poll up for the browser or the beta UI. And I clicked on it knowing what the results were already going to be. And it's an overwhelming percentage, 93% want browser and no beta UI. So that was a poll put up by Adam Blocker, and So then it went down to, I guess, the problems that people are having with the beta UI, and is it league racing here, Mike? Is that what they're talking about?
That's just
Yes.
one of many. I just pulled this one out as an example, but I'm not kidding when I say there's many. Okay, there's a lot of different posts in the forums that have issues specifically related to beta UI. This is just one of them. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, guys, but the reason we keep talking about this every week is because people are talking about it in the forums. And if they're going to
It's
talk about it, we're going to talk about it.
I was gonna
I
say,
had
Mike, we're gonna have to, create a bumper for this topic. It's almost a weekly thing now.
Yeah, it is almost. But this one was if you created a league event for your league, it was actually showing up over and hosted. And it was certainly jacked up. And in fact, OBRL was having problems getting their events to show correctly. And it depended on how you joined, if you were allowed to join. They were getting this thing where league members weren't allowed to join or something.
I still to this day have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to tell people to join through the beta UI to this day.
Yep. Yeah, there's some kind of issue with that. Um, and it's all because of the beta UI. And so, because that's where they created the session, and it kind of drives from there, apparently.
I had one Monday where I set it up as for my locked league, and it allowed OP is set into 3 leagues. It allowed members from all 3 leagues to join a race, even though it was set for one in specific.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it also threw it in open hosted, so that was fantastic. So everybody saw it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I read from other people that have had the same experience.
Because I know with OBRL they're having problems because guys were asking if some of the tracks, that have day-night transitions, that they were going to run it, and they couldn't figure out the easier way to do it without using the UI, which you can't. So that's why they're not running any transitions this season because of the beta UI.
Unfortunately, all of our Daytona races, all of our new Daytona races are day-night transitions. And we like to do all the other ones set up like that because the fluctuation in temperature affects how much tape you run and how hard you can push. So it adds a new challenge every week.
All right, and also somebody we follow on the forums for stories is Nick Neben. He actually put up a YouTube video, a 14-minute YouTube video describing the differences between doing it in the beta UI versus doing it in the browser. And he actually goes through this and does several things like, okay, I'm going to join an official race. And he shows how it's done in the beta UI, and then he shows how it's done on the website. And he talks about how efficient it is one way and inefficient it is the other, and the time differences. And he literally shows shows you in the video what the issue is. And so you can check out his video, search, I don't know what his YouTube page is. Let me look. Kneebon5. Kneebon 5. So yeah, go check him out if you want to see that. Greg, VR Issues is next.
So this is going, kind of almost ties with the beta UI every time as well. And they're talking about, who was it here? So Alex Horn was answering to whose question was it? I'm just trying to find the original post here.
Well, the post was about something completely different, but then Alex said, "Oh, by the way, we are aware of VR issues. We're gonna work on it."
Yeah, so they're saying they got a whole bunch of improvements coming for VR, but I think that they were originally talking about was VR static menu, which means they want to be able to use the menu without VR instead of being in VR the whole time on the beta UI, where they have a point. From what I could read, is that they want when they enter the sim, they can hit a button where it says turn to VR, and so your headset is ready then from that point on, and you don't have to wear it to be in the whole UI. So it sounds like they're working on something so that it doesn't have to work that way, because I have seen it from some of the other YouTube people that I follow and Twitch followers that, from other games, they can access all the menus without the VR. So that's what they're talking about here, is trying to get it onto the point where some of those games are as well.
All right. So they're working on it. Soon. All right, next, Fanatec is hiring. They have a job posting for electronic engineer. And they're hiring multiple positions and giving away a Podium DD1 wheel. If you recommend the person, they end up hiring. So if you know somebody who wants a job in Landshut, Germany, maybe you can win a wheel.
I'm gonna recommend you, Mike. You gonna move?
No.
Aw.
Sounds fun though. All right,
That'll be a
Mason.
9.
I wonder if you get the direct drive wheel before the other people get it.
9.
All right, Mason. Ty Majeski.
Yeah, so I found this one on, I believe it was Dave Moody's Twitter. He was replying to a iRacing user's picture of the top-ranked iRacer in the world. It is currently Tyler Majeski, followed by Ty Majeski. So Ty Majeski created a second account just so he could be second to himself. So
I've heard of other racers doing that too, especially there's one guy in the IndyCar series who has 3 accounts and they're all like in the top 3.
And he, Ty Majeski replied to Dave Moody saying, I figured people may have thought just one account at the top was a fluke.
Yeah, I pulled them up in iRacing. Both those drivers you mentioned, Tyler Majeski and Ty Majeski. One of them was started 7 years ago, and he has an I rating of 10,664.
Wow.
And then the other one was started 5 years ago, and has an I rating of 10,706.
Wonder how he decides which one to get on.
Is that all?
Are they both oval?
That's oval I rating, yes. Now, he only runs late model, and that's how he really pulls that off.
I feel like if he ever got last place in a race, he'd drop like 3,000 I rating.
Or if he got in the A car and ran NIS, yeah, where would he be then?
Yeah, I would love to see an NIS race with him.
Right. I want to see what his I rating would be in an NIS situation instead of the late model.
That's got to be one of the highest I ratings in iRacing now.
It is. It's the top 2, actually.
That's right.
All right, Ty, time to get on here. We'll race with you.
It's too bad he doesn't have a NASCAR ride this season, man.
I could probably beat him.
Let's go to hardware software. Tony, Formula CSX Rim from Cube Control.
Yeah, I forgot I was starting this. I've got no idea what the hell they're
Your
doing
name's
here.
in red.
I know, I can't read. Jeez.
I'll help you out.
Somebody, yeah, thanks, Mason. Bail me out here, man. I'm drowning.
So this is Cube Controls is the company. They made a Formula CSX new wheel here. It's to rival the Fanatec wheel. And it's a big milestone for them, and it's in pre-order currently. But it's got all the fancy lights, fancy screen in the middle. It's got plenty of labels so that you can read those, Tony, with color coding.
Thanks, man. I need the color codes.
Got him.
But yeah, it looks like a pretty sweet beast.
It's in pre-order, too.
It's a sweet 1,500 euros. That
Yikes.
is
A lot of money.
crazy for a freaking wheel. I know it's got everything you need, and probably there's a coffee maker attached to the back. But wow, that's
Just shifter
that's
paddles.
crazy.
There's no coffee maker.
Well,
What about the
Shifter
display that's built in? I mean, that looks so nice.
Do you think that the way that this is designed justifies that price tag? Because obviously the Fanatec is the closest competitor to it that looks like it. I mean, it has a lot more buttons. It has the display. That
Without
price
seeing
tag
the
is,
internals, I can't say that.
and the thing is you're basically just buying the rim there. So, that's a USB rim, I'm guessing, right? That is on its own.
Said PCD adapters. Fit standard 3-hole 50.8 millimeter PCD adapters.
It's high end, man. You can tell by looking.
It
Now
looks like
this display,
solid.
this display, I think this is probably one of the biggest ones that we've seen. It's a 4.3 inch screen. There is a
LCD
lot of
screen.
there is a lot of tech in this thing, so I guess that would justify the cost.
My question is some of these companies that are making, like, so this one is, it looks like it's almost being specifically made for like this, a lot of the adjustment, if you look at how these things are all labeled, a lot of these look like, all the things you're going to need for iRacing to use for it, right? Like there's
Oh
just,
yeah.
it just seems like it's set almost perfectly for, I don't know what all the other sims have for some of this, but iRacing has all these things that it's got on there.
They got a nice GT wheel as well. Wow. It's 889 euros.
With suede.
And it's got tons of buttons and paddles and everything.
They're really nice designed wheels.
Very, very nice website. CubeControls.com. If you guys are interested in high-end wheels, check them out. All right, I'm going to get this one. VRS Direct Force Pro. All right, we talked about this before, that virtual racing school, VRS, is going to get in the hardware business. And so they made an announcement. They're going to release a direct drive wheel controller box optimized for the popular 20 nanometer small Miege motor. Our goal is to deliver a top quality controller that enables the small Miege wheel bases to be built for under US 1000. And so it's just a box that has electronics in it that you would hook a small Miege motor to for a kind of a do-it-yourself direct drive wheel, I guess. So no word on pricing, but it does indicate that you could get the whole package for under $1,000.
Yeah, it was interesting. There's a couple forum posts just talking about it and seeing whether this is going to be a legitimate thing or not. And some people say no, some people say yes. So I'm very curious to see what it ends up being.
Yeah, and they've had their people using it for months now, they say. So it's been in use, and they're saying it's a proven product. But yeah, we don't have any pricing yet. They're currently building more pre-production samples to put in the hands of more of the VRS coaches as well as external testers. So more to come, I guess. I don't know. If I'm going to buy a direct drive wheel, I'm not a do-it-yourself kind of guy. I don't think I would do this.
I really don't know anything about this, like as far as the technology behind it. So I just need to know more about it before we get into it.
And trust me, there are forum posts in the hardware section of the forums where people do this. They build stuff from scratch. Bino is one of those guys that can build these kind of things up from the ground up. And this just makes it easier because all the electronic part of it, the software part of it, is what VRS has built here. So, guess to make it a little bit easier. All right, Mason, let's talk about sim racing. Oh, I can't see it. Machines, UK company.
Yeah, simracingmachines.com is your website there. They have custom steering wheels for the ultimate driving experience, made from solid sheet carbon fiber, handmade just for you. So what they've got on this website are a lot of custom things that you can use to convert your own wheels. So they got a lot of the Fanatec conversion kits, so you can send them your wheel, and they will convert it for you and send it back and clean it and all the things that need done to it. They have a conversion kit possibly being made for the Fanatec F1 2018 wheel, but they're not sure yet because they haven't actually gotten one, like many other people. But they have. I'm on a roll tonight. They have custom wheels already built for sale, like a Porsche 918 RSR rim converted for USB, Fanatec Clarion GT3 wheel converted to USB. So um, they also do have gear shifters, all the cables you need, quick releases, just a whole bunch of the toys and accessories that you could need for your wheels to make it work on your setup.
Yeah, it looks like they're based out of Europe. Their pricing is in euros or pounds. And they have lots of different parts, adapters and wheel parts kind of thing. All right, I actually missed a story. That's why I'm confused. Greg, Pro Sim Evo pedals.
So, just bring up the link here. ProSim Evo pedals. Um, it's a set of. Is it just a brake and a gas? I'm just looking through.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a throttle and a brake. So it's 1,850. Is that euros or?
Euros.
Yeah, pounds. Actually, it might be pounds.
1,850.
Sorry, 1,850. From www.prosim or pro-sim.co.uk. So it's basically a hydraulic brake with it even has a master cylinder and everything. It's very, from looking at the pictures on the website, it's very tough metal construction. It it's good. It looks like it doesn't come in its own. Is it mounted to something, or you got to mount them? I'm just trying to figure out. It
You
looks
got to
like
figure out how to mount them.
Yeah. So, looking on this other, looking here, it's a hydraulic brake and throttle pedal, master cylinder, power brakes. What was it? Beano. Was very impressed by them. Brakes are able to adjust very accurately to the exact curve. Throttle spring helps you feel exactly where the pedals is, so you don't accidentally hover over the pedal. Pedals can be spaced apart as needed. So also in here they had Gary Tall had posted
nice
pictures on his rig here of how he's got them mounted, and they look like a very nice set of pedals. Like I've never had any experience with a hydraulic pedal. Mike, yours are hydraulic, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the difference. I haven't felt the difference yet of the hydraulic pedals, but they look like they would be really nice pedals to race with.
Yeah, these are probably the most expensive that I've heard of, and we've talked about them in the past. I just wanted to bring them up again, and because you can never learn too much about these, but these are definitely considered one of the best hydraulic pedals out there, and you can tell by the price, 1,850 pounds. They are in fairly high demand. There is a nice thread here where a lot of people are, putting up pictures and talking about it, and lots of good things. You don't hear anything bad, that's for sure. But yeah, if you're looking for brakes, you definitely need to be looking at that website too. All right, let's see what's next. Tony, handbrake mod.
Yeah, figure you guys can all take a step into the duct tape office here. Talk about something where you don't need to take out a mortgage on your home to upgrade your rig. This fella here, I was scouring the one of the Facebook groups, and I come across this picture, and Robert Carey invented this little handbrake mod using an old Logitech joystick, and yeah, it's not a whole lot to look at, but I'm sure it works just fine and just great. I just love the ingenuity of this stuff. It looks like it's an old he's repurposed like an old broom handle or some sort and stuck it on top. Ripped the joystick part off the Logitech base and replaced it with this broom handle or handle of some sort. And that's what he uses for his handbrake. He also said that he can use it as a sequential shifter too if he likes. I personally don't see why not. in the original post, he said he used to use just rubber bands to get it to come back to center, but has since upgraded them to springs. So
Nice.
we're on the right track here.
It has the distance of that throw is like American Truck Simulator throw size.
There's like a
Yeah.
board on top of it to kind of hold it down.
Oh, that's what that's doing. I wondered how stable it was.
Kind of wedged in there.
These rigs are getting better by the week.
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, you can take a mortgage out on your house, or you can just get a little creative. And I'm sure you got a bunch of broken crap laying around the house. I got a garage full of that stuff, and yeah, I love it. I love it. This stuff is awesome.
Better watch out when he sits down. He's got a bolt sitting on that chair.
I thought it looked like a pipe.
You know, I mentioned before we started recording, Mason, you'd pointed out the seat cover he's got there, but I'm a little disappointed that nobody has. We haven't seen a picture of, one of those wooden bead seat covers that all the cabbies
the
use.
rollers.
The massage ones.
Yeah. Somebody's got to have one. Send us a picture, guys.
There's got to be someone on the old Bastards Racing League that runs one of those.
Yeah, you're probably not going to make it to the end of the next race there.
That's okay. I don't know if you guys noticed. Does he have a little stuffed animal there as good luck on the desk? Is that a squirrel?
That almost looks like that little Looney Tunes character. I don't know what the heck he's called, Chimichanga or something like that. Come on, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Maybe.
Literally no idea.
All right, fine, whatever. Okay, next topic.
Okay, here we go. Joe Owen, a teammate, he had given me a video because I was having some challenge with streaming on how to optimize the NVIDIA control panel. And I went through this video about 9 minutes long, and I did exactly what the video says to click on in the NVIDIA control panel, and I changed a few settings. I have no idea what I changed. I don't know what any of that stuff is. But I did it, and wow, it made a huge difference. My frames doubled, and so then I went back into my graphical settings in the sim, and I turned everything back up to high. I had turned off a few things because of frame rate issues. And now I'm running everything on high, and I'm getting really good frame rates. And it's all because of this video. In fact, the last setting, it had me change the colors of my monitors a little bit. They're like more vibrant than they were before, and it's a noticeable difference. And I definitely highly recommend this. I'm going to tell you the YouTube user is called Pangino, Panjno. Go to his page. He has that how to optimize NVIDIA control panel. Now, if Joe hadn't told me to do that and I hadn't made the changes, I wouldn't have a clue, you know. I have a brand new build that I just built a few months ago with a 1080 Ti with NVIDIA drivers, but no one ever told me to go and change this setting and that setting and this and that. And boy, it made a big difference. And I think Adam did the same things as well, and I think he said he liked it. Greg, I think you were going to do it too.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to do it yet. David was going to do it as well.
I did it. I cranked the vibrancy that you were talking about up way too high first time, and it was like smack in the face when you look at the screen.
You did you leave it where it was, or did you end up going higher?
Well, I went to what he said he ran his at, which was like 83, and it starts at 50.
Right.
And that was way too high, so I'm going to try at 60 tonight.
Right. Yeah, huge difference. Check that out. I think that's something that we all forget about is you got to get all those settings right. And when you're in the control panel, the NVIDIA control panel, it's not real clear what you need to click on to make it right. And this video definitely walks you through it. All right, let's keep moving. We're going to talk about our specific stints in the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona just a little bit to give everyone a chance to talk about, what their run was like. So I'll start and I was in the DP car. I had 8X. I was actually the lowest of the team. I don't know how that's possible. I did a double, and then later I did another. I spun 3 times, but I never hit anything. My times were in the 141s and the 142s. Again, it was really nice to see that sunrise and see the darkness to light. All right, Mason, why don't you talk about yours?
Okay, so my first stint, like I said, was going from the daytime to the nighttime, and it was a very cool experience. I really did enjoy that, watching the sunset and all the lights come on, and especially the high beams on the cars. That was a pretty cool thing. I got 6X. There was plenty of dodging of wrecks and cars that were slower from their own wrecks, but we made it through that clean. Then my second stint, like I said, was in the morning. It was about midnight to 2:40 a.m. Eastern time for me, but that was coming from nighttime to daytime, and it was very bright. Um, Unfortunately, I was trying to pass the leader, get a lap back, and in the bus stop, and he stayed on my outside longer than I anticipated, and I jacked the brakes and wrecked into the tire barriers, got stuck there, had to tow. Minute
Oh,
53,
that's
optional
the one I got the
damage.
video of, right?
Oh, yeah, you got a video, because I streamed that sucker. So I think overall I had maybe 15, 20x.
All right. Greg, tell us about your run a little bit.
Well, let's. I guess we can put them all together here. Between Tony's not here and Chris. I'll do Chris's first, just because of the way that things went. So Chris's first stint was the time he had an issue with his network. So what happened is he started to having problems, and we had teammate David Flowers was in there in the chat listening, and Chris was having trouble, and David put an SOS over the messenger to get somebody in to come back to do it, and Brent went and rescued him. Well, uh, Chris solved his network issue, so Brent did a stint, and then I guess Chris had wrote here 3 hour stint to make up for what he had problems earlier. He spun twice, once behind a slower car on the bus stop. Terrible recovery from the spin, couldn't find reverse. Second spin was overdriving. He ran his first 143 lap at Daytona during that stint, and then handed it off to David Hall. So then David and I were having, there's two different stints that David and I ran that we had different strategies on, but also Tony in the night had Tony had, I think, late Saturday night and then really late into the Sunday morning, just before I came on. And so his first stint, him and hold on, he had come in early for a stint, as Chris had not had any issues. He was trying to make sure that Chris didn't have any issues. But when he came in, he finally got some consistent times, and Tony was able to make it through his first stint. He ran in the 145s most of his stint. And then his other stint, he started in the morning. He
I'm
said,
shocked he didn't get disconnected.
he said it was brought to you by Red Bull and Nutri-Grain bars.
Now that's because it was the middle of the night for him, right? And
Yeah,
and
but
so
that's
he
where
didn't.
he operates at that time of night. I think a lot of us didn't know when to go to bed. I think that was one of the things that we learned is some of us needed to go to
Yes.
sleep, right, Mason?
Yes.
And didn't. I'm used to nights, but not anymore. So the big parts that we got from this. So I started the race, and we were talking about before. We had the blinking field problem, and we came out of the pits 40th when we started that race, and I drove the first 3 hours of the race, and I think we moved up to about, I think it was about ninth is when I moved up to, and then I think Mason, you took over and you brought it back into like the top five on your first stint there. So I
Yes,
think the
sir.
furthest we got up to is top four. I think was maybe fourth or
Fourth.
fifth. Okay, so that's the furthest we got up to, and then as the night went on, David took over, and David's first stint was a triple stint, And that's where we probably enjoyed our night the most, was David's first stint. Um, he uh, he was having some problems
Get
with
some
some.
run-ins, right?
He had some run-ins with some guys that had damage, were laps down, and kept, they were faster in some corners, and then down the straightaways we had a lot of speed, and and I think David described the one time he was having with this dive bomber. The guy tried to pass him and spun out on the front of David's bumper, but I think David was more concerned of the driver and should have just been running his race. But then Tony gave way to me in the middle of the night. I think it was about 4:30 in the morning, on my second stint, and at that point I hadn't been up to speed for a while on what had been going on. So we were running 10th. We were 2.5 laps behind ninth when I took over. So I don't know what driver they had in, but he wasn't, or if they had any damage, because I never saw them on the track. But I had made, by the time I had finished my stint through there, I had brought us back within the same lap as they were before our driver change, by not taking tires on my pit stops and just running really consistent laps. So then David took over, and that's when David turned it on, and for his to the end the race, he ran the rest of the race without tires as well, and he ended up running down the ninth place guy, um, and we got ninth out of it. So it was a good run by everybody. Like I said, I'm pretty proud to have finished ninth with four guys that have not even stepped foot consistently in the road racing and even an endurance race. So I'm just grateful that everybody on our team showed up and was ready to race that race too, right? Like, everybody worked as a team,
Yeah.
and we all had looked like we all had pretty much a good time out there.
Yeah, I think
So
overall.
it looked like it was. I definitely hope that the guys are willing to all do it on the next time we want to do it. Like, I don't know if they want to do Le Mans or any of the other ones in between, but I think we should make the team do a couple, try and have two cars every time we get one of these endurance races that we want to race in.
Yeah. Yeah, Craig Sykes did wonderful in the DP car. He led some laps. Phil Linden led some laps. Joe got wrecked. Phil wrecked. And if we didn't have those wrecks, we probably would have had a shot at it. Because they definitely were leading laps for a while before that stuff happened. But, it happens, and you got to deal with it. And I'm okay with 6, so.
And you never want to be the one that wrecks the car, that's for sure.
And I wasn't, so I was very happy. And I had the least incidents. And, yeah, mine was very uneventful, and that's the way I wanted it, so. All right, let's finish. Let's go into final thoughts. Greg Hectus.
I just looking forward to this next 2 weeks of the OBRL, just to finish up the season before the 3 races for the championship. We got 2 short tracks, Smyrna and I think it's Iowa is the last race before the end of the championship. So I just want to make it clean through those 2 and get on to the final 3 races. The other thing I'm looking forward and I'm hoping in a couple weeks once they arrive, I've got these new racing shoes that my wife ordered me. I shared it in our messenger, and I'm hoping we can cover them on the podcast here in a couple weeks. My review on them, I guess, and go from there with them, because this company's idea of how to make a racing shoe. And for sim racing, and they actually make go-kart racing shoes as well, but you can personalize them, and this is what I really liked, especially for what I like to do with Twitch and stuff like that. I can actually now have my footwear will actually have my logo or my racing name on it. So if you guys want to
You have your
watch,
foot cam on your
yep,
webcam.
that's what really drew me to these shoes as well. So you'll be able to see that should be able to see that from the way that I've got the shoes designed for it. So you guys can follow me on Twitch. So twitch.tv/frozen cactus, frozen with 2 O's, cactus with 2 K's, and yeah, I'll be streaming anytime I'm on. So
Yeah, I
Thanks,
can't
guys.
race with shoes. I'm in socks 100% of the time. If I have shoes on, I feel out of whack. It's weird. All right, Mason Stiver, final thought.
Yeah, we kind of had to breeze through things here, but I just wanted to point out Brent McCord has been running in the Major Series. They did a Rolex 2.4 at Daytona in the IMSA Ferrari and all the IMSA cars. I believe it was the Monday after the 24 hours, and he won his class of the Ferrari. So
Nice.
congrats to him. He was also in the Podium Esports, and I was watching that race in the street stock at Lanier, and that was quite the show of bumpers to bumpers. I will let it go that way. But yeah, I'm excited. It was fun to run 24 hours. Not something I would do on a daily basis, that's for sure. But working on the cup setups, and hopefully have something for NIS this year.
All right, very good. Tony Groves, final thought.
Yeah, I was while everybody was going through their final thoughts, I was thinking, man, we were like less than a month away from the Daytona 500.
Yay.
Yeah, and over this off season, I don't think I've been in the A car. I've not done one official race in the A car.
Neither have I.
It's been a nice break, but I'm starting to get a little itchy here. I'm actually really
Perfect.
I'm really looking forward to the start of the NIS season. So I guess I'm gonna have to get my butt in gear and start doing some practicing. Not so much for the Daytona. I mean, that's just roll the dice most of the time, but for the mile and a halves and all that other stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of sitting here just getting a little excited for that 500 to come.
Yeah, and then Atlanta, and then Vegas, and so on. So, yeah, be
Yeah,
ready. Yeah, it's going to be a fun season. I'm excited about our group of guys we have on the team, and so looking forward to that. All right, Alex Green, thanks for coming on the podcast. You're welcome anytime. What's your final thoughts?
Yes, sir. Just thank you guys so much for having me. I didn't realize it until he said it. Now I'm realizing the Daytona 500 weekend is also the same as the as our Mission 22 race. So I've realized I'm bad at looking at a calendar.
You and I racing.
Just thank you guys so much for having me on, and I hope I get to see you guys out for Charlotte. And we've raised about $280 so far of our $500 goal, and I'd love to hit that and just have a great time for a great cause. And thank you so much for you guys letting me on that platform.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for coming. All right, my final thoughts. Wow, I've been trying to figure out how to stream. I don't know. I'm not much of a streamer, but everyone is doing it, and so I'll do it too. But having a lot of challenges. My challenge is when I lose focus on the sim, the frame rate is perfect in OBS. It's locked at 60 or 30 or whatever I put it at. But the moment I give the sim focus, it drops to a lower number. Now I tweaked a million different settings in OBS and tried all these different things, and I thought I got it better, and I thought it was working. I actually did an entire race where it was locked at 60, and I thought, oh man, it's fixed. Then I got in another race and got on the grid, and it dropped to 15 frames a second. And so it's still not fixed. And man, I got this monster computer I spent all this money on, and I should be able to stream, and it's just frustrating because there's something I'm doing wrong, and I can't figure it out. So if you listeners have an idea based on that, let me know. Send me a message. I'm happy to hear it because right now it's been fun trying to figure that out. I'm also looking forward to Daytona. I'm starting to think about sets. Mason and I were talking a little bit about that and what are we going to do and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. The team is hitting on all cylinders. And with that being said, we are recruiting at Team Tifosi. We're looking for not only a social media manager and a league manager, but just drivers in general. So if you're not any one of those things and you're just a driver that wants to run with us, hit up Greg, hit up myself, either one, and we will talk to you and see if you're a good fit. And with that, we'll see you later.
User in your channel stopped
All right, clear.
recording.
Title ideas.
All right, everybody that was watching, have a good night. We'll see you next week.